Hello and welcome. I am Stacey Thomas, author, ALS advocate, film producer, and talk show host. I'm here to motivate, educate, and entertain. Join me on YouTube every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Stacey Thomas Talk Show, where we have powerful discussions centered around health, relationship, careers, and everyday conversation. Follow me on Facebook, I am Stacey Thomas. On Instagram, Stacey Thomas Talk Show. And don't forget, I can promote you too. Email me at iamstaceythomas@gmail.com. Now, it's time for the show. Good morning. Top of the morning. This is something new. I am Stacey Thomas, and I am interviewing another powerhouse person on my platform, and it's Saturday morning. What do I usually do on Saturday mornings? Work. So this is no different. We're just doing a live interview, and I'm very excited. A couple years ago, I was blessed to have this person on my platform. When she came a few years ago, she was an author and a business owner. So it's very interesting in what she's done over the years, and I'm excited to bring Darlene Lyons on. Hey.
Good morning, Stacey Thomas.
Top of the morning, beautiful. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. You know what? We were talking one day, and we talked about how God will take something bad and make it good.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about my week. And it just was very overwhelming. We were supposed to have the interview on Wednesday, and I guess the devil did something trying to distract me, but you didn't say, never mind, Stacey. You said we'll do it Saturday. So thank you.
No, we just always, life happens. And like I said in the live that I went, the same day I went on live, and I was like, hey guys, this is Darlene, yada, yada. Life happens, so we're going to have to reschedule. That's that simple.
Thank you. And already, Ellen Suttereth from ESP Presents. She's like a major book presenter. Well, not like, she's a major book presenter with a lot of best-selling authors. She says, wow. Hello, ladies. I'm happy you having a Saturday. I can watch you now. I want to say,
good.
Okay, she can watch now. Thank you, Ellen. Good. So, Darlene, let me say this about Ellen, because I know you have your book, and I wasn't planning on doing this so soon, but Darlene has Ellen have a seat. So what we're going to do while we have Ellen on here, Darlene.
Yes, ma'am.
What we're going to do is let's talk about the book.
Okay.
Tell us, first of all, the title. Where did that come from?
When I was asked what would I what's the title, they just kept asking me. I was like, give me a minute. I said, I don't know yet. I'm just not that genius to just, oh wow. So we were all sitting around the table, and it was like, well, you know, Darlene, you're gonna have to give it a name. We can't publish something without a name. And I said, and somebody said, hey guy, hey, have a seed. And I was like, you know, when people read, it's not a big book, but it's a very intimate book about me, you know, my growing up and my children and all that. I was like, they're going to want to sit down because I'm saying a few things in here that's not so churchy, right? So, and back when I was coming up, you know, you just didn't, well, I'll put this out, you know, you didn't have a baby without being married, right? Everybody in town talked about you. Oh, look at so-and-so's daughter. I knew she was, you know, hot. You know, they use, you know how Southern people use certain words. You know, she was hot, this and fast and all that. But not like their daughters wasn't doing this.
That's right.
You know, that was the thing. So
that's right.
I'm excited. And so I figured, hey, they're gonna have to have a seat. I said it, and it stuck.
So, Darlene, without telling the book, can you tell me? Tell us, Darlene, because a lot of times people write about their life, right?
Right.
And I have said, and I'm going to be very honest with you, when someone says, I'm writing a story about my life, what's so different about your life than mine that I need to go buy a book? You know, I often say, I don't need to know what you're doing now as a millionaire
Right.
in your life. Tell me how you got there. Help me get there. So for your book, Darlene, just that one thing you said will strike a lot of conversation, because it wasn't just in one state or one household, but that
They,
was said, you know, people talked about it.
they did.
Give us something that's in your book, Darlene, that we would really like. We need to read it.
You need to read it. You know, I could say something, Stacey, but I'm sitting here thinking about the times that we're in now. My
Okay.
book would be boring to a lot of people, right? Boring because when I when in the time that I was raised in you, because we're kind of in that same
Right.
age
Right.
category, um, there were morals, okay, and and
I wish I
so
had a button that says "Speak, sister."
there were morals, and it was just certain things that, of course, I made a mistake, right? But but my mistake was still a blessing, because my son was a blessing, and he's definitely a blessing today. You know, he works for me, and he's a senior project manager over my locating department. So God doesn't make a mistake. The only thing I did was have sex out of marriage, you know. And there are some other things in that book. You know, I talked about my parents a little, how things happen with them, and it really did kind of flow over in my life after I became a teenager. I had a great childhood, great grandfather, grandmothers. I don't have any molestation stories, but I do have a lot. And then I speak on um, raising children after divorce, right? Because I have
Right.
six, and they're all grown. And so there's a lot of things. I even talk about men raising their children, right? And
Right.
how some men are angry with women, and it has spilled over into their. I just kind of touched on that,
Right.
right? And my thing is, my boys was raised with me,
Okay.
right? My grandmother was my mom, my oldest son. She had a big part. My mom died when he was 15 years old. Okay. My
Okay.
son is now turning 40 now. So that's been a long time.
Okay.
So, but I talk about men that are angry, with their mothers. And we have to find a way not to be angry anymore, you know, because she did the best she could.
Wow.
Um, and that's a lot of times when you find guys that are angry and they have problems with women, and it's always, sometimes that's it. It's because their mother wasn't there or whatever the case may be. But I touch on a lot of little things. I didn't go into detail, but we're working on a second book.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, working on number two, and it's going to be so different. It's going to be more of what has happened now, because I have two companies, and that I don't want to get into all that, but yeah. So, but I think my book would say something, you know, because it's not just one thing. I know people write about the faith and their whole, but my faith was my life. I had to know God and to experience Him. Me and God went through journeys in that book. When in Atlanta, I remember having holes in my shoes, you know, um, feeding my children. There were times, they always ate, but there was times when I did not. Um, it talks about a lot of different things like that, and it's just a little. So I've got two more books in me, right?
Right.
I want to elaborate on those things, and I want to talk about owning companies and what the it's not too late. When we get in our 50s, believe it or not, I'm up there. Believe it or not, I'm not in my lower, I'm in the upper, right?
Okay. Okay.
So I'm not I'm up there, but I have a lot. I have a lot to share. I've been in the industry that I'm in 19 years, had no idea this was not a dream, right? I'd never had a dream, okay, I'm going to own a locating company or
Okay.
I'm going to own a highway maintenance company.
And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that
Right,
part. I
right.
think it's important that they know. I just thought it was important that Ellen, because she represents authors, should hear
Yeah,
about your book. And I want to say this. You said that your book might be boring to some people.
right.
Learning a lesson can never be boring. Trying to figure out how to get out of whatever it is in, that conversation will never get boring. Having a story from wearing shoes with holes in it,
Yeah,
having a baby out of wedlock back
yeah,
in the day, that's
yeah.
not a boring story. We all need encouragement. We all need motivation. So, thank you. I do hope people check your book out. And
Yes.
I look forward
Thank
to
you.
reading the other books that you will come out with.
Yes.
You are something else, not someone else.
That's a great word. I will accept that.
You are an African American woman living in the United States, and the majority of business owners, or especially in the field that you're going to speak of, there's not many. If there any other, if there is another person like you, the first company that you got a couple here. So, well, as an African American woman, the first company you created, RDL.
Yes.
Tell us about RDL.
So RDL has two legs, right? So
Right,
it's RDL, as you can see on the poster that you put up. It's RDL Private Utility Locating, which is subsurface company. We we work for survey companies, engineering companies, contractors. We dig on utilities per the client request, right? We
right.
get depths, positive identifications, because they want to know if that line is dead. After we do design work, which is all that means is that we design utilities just like a contractor would. A developer is drawing, how he's going to build the houses, how he's going to, well, a company like mine has to come in after 811, because you can get some of that from 811, but when you want extensive design work, then it would have to come to a private um, entity like mine. And then again, as I said before, there are pictures of us on social media. You see where we, dig and all that. So when drillers are in your city, or and you see them putting down those big whatever, they had to have utility information. So and all that means is that they need to be cleared before they start drilling, so they don't hit something, water lines, like whatever is buried under the ground, because all lights, electric is not buried under the ground. Of course, you see the lights that are on the highways and things like that. So there is it's a lot to that, and we do all utilities from sewer, gas, water. We if we can, we do our best. We do disclaimers, because we're not perfect. We use GPRs, which is the equipment you use to look underground. We have our locators that we use. We hook up and to walk the signals out. But we always let people know there are disclaimers. It doesn't mean we're head on. It just means we're trying to give you some information, and that's what we do. We maps. Of course, we use maps if we can get them. All the time, a client doesn't have a map for what we do. So that's when we have to use our experience, our knowledge, and we get as much information. Don't get me wrong, we get as much information as possible in order to do the job that they're asking us to do.
Darlene,
Yes, ma'am.
how does a black woman with children come up with
I I didn't come
not
up
a
with
not accounting, not real estate, not a doctor or a lawyer? Where did that idea come from that you wanted to have a company, people walking around locating cable?
because I first worked for a company which
Okay.
that did that, which was my ex-husband.
Okay. Ooh, we get
And
ready to get to some good stuff, Darlene.
oh, we ain't going deep. That's another interview for
Go
another day.
ahead. Go ahead.
So um I ended up marrying the same guy twice, right?
Okay.
So and we're divorced again.
I'm sorry.
We're best friends.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
yeah. He works for me now. And again, we're best friends. And
Okay.
I couldn't
Okay.
have a better person on my staff, right? Not just my sons. My two daughters work for RDL as well.
Okay.
Um, it has been, and I have another son that actually works in the locating department as
So
well.
so your ex-husband taught you about this.
Yes, let me tell you what he did. He brought me into a entity that I knew nothing about when I first moved here.
Okay.
And I worked for him
Okay.
as the manager, and I didn't even know the language. But Stacey, I learned. I was smart enough to learn because I watched. I went into rooms. And as I learned, I studied. I asked questions. Um, I got to know people for myself. I started asking questions. I wanted to know how this was done. Well, how do I get in this department to get that? And women in different positions will help women trying to get in a door.
Okay. So
Uh-huh.
how many, as an African American woman, and yes, I continuously say African American woman to her because I am very proud of her and I know she's doing things that are different. And I imagine that it has not been easy. Darlene, that you know of, are there a lot of African American women in your field?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that
Okay.
you're aware of.
Right.
So
But
when
I
you
know they're in other states.
in other states. So
Yes.
when you created this company,
Hmm.
was it very difficult landing contracts doing what you're doing because there are not many that look like you and that you are a female?
Yes, ma'am. You have to understand that when I first started, not knowing how to get to the contracts was the first problem. And people would tell you, "Oh, all you got to do is go to this website." I know you hear that a lot,
Yeah, yeah.
even in other industries, right? All you have to do is, but that's not true. That is not true. You you have to keep pounding doors because
Okay.
they'll ignore you. First of all, I'm in an industry that's dominated by men,
Okay.
and then because I got this extra tan on my skin, that didn't
Okay, okay.
that didn't help any. So what I did, I started asking questions, and certain women, they were so forthcoming,
Wow.
and they said, darling, you need to get this certification. They can't stop you from doing that. So I
Right.
started getting certifications, and because I didn't even know about them, because even though my ex-husband was in the industry, he wasn't. He was on one thing.
Okay.
He located. He did
Okay.
utility locating, and he just. I mean, he had people that knew he was good at what he did, and that's just what he did. And that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Very
And
good.
so I started getting certifications in different things. And so those certifications allow my company name to go in different areas with the city, with the local government, things like that. And even after that, Stacey, it still wasn't easy. You know, I would ask and they would say, "Oh, well, I don't know." So of course, everything you said is true. But the bottom line is you don't let it stop you. And I guess they didn't realize that I was that girl that had
That
been through
girl.
that girl that she's already come from a rough road, right?
Ooh.
Raising her children. And now my kids I mean, the last two I think were in high school. So you got four that are grown. You got two that was still in high school. So okay, it's okay because I've had cardboards in the bottom of my shoes. So you telling me no means nothing to me.
You know, it's interesting because all that's going on in the world today,
Right.
well, in this country, someone said to me the other day, how do I say this and not be mean? Like, we're used to going through hard times.
Right.
We're used to fighting through things.
Exactly.
It's sad for those that don't know what wearing shoes with holes in it means. So that
Exactly.
drive that you have, that drive that comes from within, it's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
It's a powerful thing. So let's take a little break, come
Okay.
back,
All right.
because uh people are going to wonder where she's a powerhouse. Well, that one company, we're going to another one. Hold on.
Want to be heard? Get featured on the Stacey Thomas Show. Join Stacey for conversations on entertainment, books, and entrepreneurship. Don't miss out. Elevate your brand today. Book your interview now. Email staceythomas@gmail.com.
Okay. Book with Stacey Thomas. If you don't sell yourself, nobody else will, Darlene.
Got that right.
So, Darlene, we've got RDL. And then, and I do hope I pulled the right pictures. This right here, is this the second company?
That's still RDL, but that's a picture of the locating. Like
Okay.
you see the young man to the left. Um, you can't see the young lady because we're covered. The young lady that manages my Facebook for me, she does different stuff, and this is very informational what she put up. Now,
Okay.
you got to understand the RDL is for reliable, dependable locating, right?
Right.
So, um, another RDL is the highway maintenance side.
And this is the second company that you've
Yes,
created since we
5
last talked. Okay.
Yes, I created that 5 years into being the private utility locating
Okay.
company. So then after that, I wanted to provide because the locating is a very specific, um, um, and it's a very specific experience. You have to have experience. Um, you got to be trained, of course.
Okay.
But when I hire, we mostly hire at least a year of experience because it's very technical. It's a technical job. It's not just something you can just go on the highway and do what we're doing out there. So the RDL Litter Pickup LLC, we are litter and debris, right?
Okay.
We are also NACE coded. NACE coded means that under each company we have different things we can do that
Okay.
we are certified to do. We can bid on certain contracts. It don't just have to be highway. It can be janitorial, commercial. It
Okay.
can be landscaping design work. We're NACE coded for all of that under the litter pickup. And then with the RDL private utility locating, now you got the some people say soft dig, some people say pot holding. We got that. We can bid on contracts for whatever from the lights to the fiber. Like we have a contract with um, locating fiber. Um, is and then we get private other locating. Trying to say it so it makes sense. So we do what we call private locates. And those can be for different companies. And we do them for different, we have clients and survey companies. They call us all the time because they have to have that data, right, underground in order to give it to their clients so they can put it on the board so the developers and the builders can know how to set everything up on that land.
So the companies you have doing what it is you do, are you only doing it in North Carolina?
No, we have an office in Georgia. We travel. We have an office space that we're not utilizing, but we're actually in Illinois, right?
Okay.
It's a small space, but we were not going to get it, but the state says that in order for you to be certified in the state of Illinois, in order to do business in the state of Illinois, you must have a location in the state of Illinois. So yes. So
no,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead. So
in order for us to get our certifications, which we have on there, we have certifications in 6 different states, Stacey.
Okay.
We're in Mississippi. A lot of people do not know that.
You've really grown.
In Alabama, we're DBE there. We are DBE in Georgia. We're DBE in North Carolina. And let me see, what we got 6 states. I don't know if I done called all 6, but we're in 6 states. But we're only actually functioning. We have the office in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay.
And we have a contract in Wilmington. Now we have, Concord is our central office. Okay. And we actually have a janitorial contract in Georgia. So, yeah.
So with doing all of this, and somebody could be watching that has someone looking for employment. Somebody's gonna say this was a blessing today. Let me pass him or her this information. Darlene, in any of the states, are you looking for employees?
Nowhere but here right now.
And where's here?
Here in North Carolina.
Okay.
Georgia, I have a couple of there that's doing some stuff in the office there. So
okay.
I don't need anybody there. Now the other states, we are not active. We're legal.
Okay.
You see?
Okay.
So the only thing we're waiting for is to be able to get contracts in different spaces.
So if there's anyone interested in employment or finding out more about you, that's the email that's on the screen where they should contact you?
Well, the one that's on your screen, that's for Table Talking More with Darlene. I know we haven't gotten there yet. I can't help it. I have to answer the questions. The one they would want to reach out to would be rdllocating@gmail.com.
rdllocating@gmail.com.
Yes, and that's 2 L's, Stacey.
2 L's. Okay. So we've got your companies. Congratulations on all that you're doing. And I got my list. And Darlene, I've got to tell you guys, Darlene, before we started the show, says, Stacey, don't forget Darlene. I know what you're doing. I researched.
Oh, Stacey, I just love you.
No, but and I'm sure if there's something that I did forget to ask about, Beautiful will let me know. So, Darlene, we're going to get to the talk show, but in talking to you, Darlene, something really touched me in a conversation that we've had recently. And I think that it just hit me that I want to know, I want you to tell people the difference between passion and anger. When someone's working hard for something, things don't go right. Yeah. Don't mistake my passion for anger. What do you mean?
So, I'm a very passionate person,
Okay.
especially about the things that I do. And my passion comes from my sacrificing, my struggles. I know what I'm doing and I am doing, and I do everything by faith. I never ever want to leave God out, because without him, Stacey, I wouldn't even be here.
Another
Literally.
another speak, sister. Somebody's got to teach me. I got to get me a button that said that when I hit it, it says speak.
You're a mess. So never think that God is never on the side. He's always in front of me, because I probably would have lost my mind by now if he wasn't. But he's got a work for me to do, and I'm passionate about everything that I do, and especially these companies, and especially RDL Litter Pickup. RDL Litter provides, and I'm gonna tell you why. So that's my passion, and when I'm passionate, I'm very loud. I can get loud, and you will confuse my passion with anger because of the way it comes across.
Okay.
And I have been told so many times, Darlene, they don't know you, so they think you're angry. You're just passionate. They just don't know what you've been through. They just don't know what you do every day to keep it held down. You know, that's and I'm trying, and I'm doing much better. Um, and anger. Now, when I'm angry, that's a whole nother animal.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
totally different. I don't think clearly. Okay. So I'm gonna be honest. There's no telling what might come out this mouth, right? And then I
Right.
have to and I'm so glad that man and woman in this world has no way to judge me, right? Even though they may be sitting in their house like my da da da, but it doesn't matter what they say. It only matters that I repent unto God, the one and only, right? Now, if I have hurt somebody's feelings, I'm not too big where I can't say, Stacey, if I hurt your feelings yesterday, I want to apologize to you. Now, that's up to you to accept it, because I'm going to come with a compassionate heart, and you're going to feel the sincerity. Some people can apologize and you can hear the vague and sarcasm. You can hear all of that, and they don't mean that. And God knows. And I'm telling you, I don't, those of you that do believe in God, um, the Lord says that you plant, you shall also reap. So when you sow these seeds, people wonder why sometimes they're having a hard time. Just think about what you've been doing to him or her, or how you treat people just in going to the food market, right?
Right.
You Like yesterday, I was at Publix and here in Concord, and I was looking for some stuff because I'm making. I don't want my kids to know what I'm cooking, but I'm cooking gumbo tomorrow because I'm not, and I wasn't planning on making a big pot. Maybe I should buy another one because because they know Mama cooking gumbo. They're gonna be at the house, right? But yeah, so and these two young ladies, African American women, and when they were walking by, I said, I said, oh, excuse me, right?
Uh-huh.
And they just kind of looked at me, and like, so I just, I look at that and I laugh because I know they don't know any better,
Right.
you
Right.
know. But again, passion and anger. It is my tone of my voice, right? Because when I'm passionate about something, Stacey, it's like when I'm speaking at different engagements, you can tell the difference. That people will say, you, Bishop Lyons or a minister or whatever, right? And they'll say, wow, God really filled this place, and I'm so glad because I know it's not me, right? I
Right.
know that it's God. And he said, I'll speak in the same hour, if you just let me. And I know that I'm always nervous after 25 years of being licensed, ordained, and consecrated, right? I was consecrated in '09. So I've been consecrated 20, but I've been ordained for 25 years this month here in April. And my ministry is every day. Guys, I give guys jobs that come out of prison, you know? I don't care if it's, if they just came, I've had them to go and then come back and I hire them right back. If I have space, right? If I have space. So my job is to continue to look for contracts that, especially in the debris, because they don't have to have a set skill or have a college degree. And I applaud people that go to college and they got their degrees. I think that is the most wonderful thing in the whole world, to further your education. So don't think that, but everybody is not going to go to college. They say everybody is not going to have and it's not that people that go have a perfect life, but everybody didn't have your mother and father. And so they lost their way. And even if they did, people lose their way because they're human, not because where they come from, not because who their parents are.
So is this part of, because I know you're a motivational speaker, is the things that you're saying now about your ministry and when you are out speaking, is this what your speaking is about, or exactly what is your focus when you are out here as a motivational speaker?
It depends on the group that has invited me to come and speak. Okay. So I motivate based on why I'm invited.
Okay.
Because Stacey, there is so many things in my life that, like I said, I don't have the molestation or the rape stories, right? So I can't talk about that and say I've had that, or I don't have the jail story, because I haven't, that wasn't my life. But I have so many other things, doors that's been slammed in my face, the disrespect. People don't want you to come because they don't like the way you look, and people say this is not a real thing, but it is a real thing.
Right.
People won't invite you to things, or they don't like you because every time I see Stacey, she thinks she's something. Why do you think you're something, Stacey? Because you hold your head up, because you are determined that you're gonna make it. You're determined that when you walk out your house, you will not have a do-rag on your head. You will not have rollers hanging. So you think you more than us because you get up and clean yourself up. That is not the case.
Well, I heard Dr. Kim say one time, Dr. Kimberly Ventus Darks, that I follow on social media. I've also interviewed her. She had me laughing one day, but I liked what she said. She said, when someone says to you, you think you're cute, or you think you're better than someone else. Right. No, you think I'm cute.
Exactly.
You think that I'm better than other people.
Yes, that is it.
And that helps sometimes, instead of worrying about why do they have that impression of me? Why do they think that I think I'm cute? Because some people will worry because they want to be everybody's friend.
Exactly.
But I just say, if someone says, oh, she thinks she's better than me. No, that's what you're thinking.
That's what you think. Exactly.
That's what you're thinking. And with that said, before we get to the table talk, because I'm anxious for you to tell us about that, we're going to take another commercial break. Okay. Ellen Suttereth was on here earlier. She's the one that has the show at 12. Thank you, Ellen, for your sponsorship. And I'm going to play something for Ellen.
Okay.
Let's see. This is why Stacey keeps saying she's going to get a team, Darlene, because someone needs to work these buttons for Stacey.
Are you an author looking for exposure for your book? Then look no further. ESP Presents assists authors in building their book brands. They offer author interviews that provide the opportunity to delve into your book and personal experiences, as well as engage with readers to help build your fan base. They also host live events. So whether mainstream or independent, all authors can find support with ESP Presents.
Thank you for that. You're watching the Stacey Thomas Show. I am Stacey Thomas, and my guest today is Darlene Lyons. Darlene comes with multiple things that she's doing. We have spoken with her about being a business owner. If you want more information about her, please follow her on Facebook, or I will have her contact information on the screen. Darlene,
Yes,
beautiful.
yes.
So we've touched the business owner, we've touched the author, we've talked about the motivational speaker, right?
Yes.
You didn't have this when I first met you. You just keep going. I'm proud of you. Tell me about the table talk with Darlene Lyons and more.
What do you want to know, Stacey?
First of all, where did that come from, Darlene? You got so many things on your plate. Where did creating this platform start? Where did it start?
Where did it start? It started with after I started the business was slow. And
Okay.
I was at that time, because 10 years ago, I was driving and I had just started the business in 2015 and I was driving for Uber.
Okay.
So I was like, and I wasn't behind the pulpit
Okay.
because I used to pastor right there in Atlanta for some
Okay.
years. So I wasn't, when I moved to North Carolina, I tried to do it, but I say anything I have to force as far as being a pastor, it didn't stop me from ministering, right? It
Right.
didn't stop me from doing revivals. That actually pumped up. So I said, God will take us out of one space and put us in another space because
Right.
it's a different set of people he's trying to reach now. And
Right.
you're the
Right.
male person, right? That he's sending you to. So that's how Table Talk got started. So I said, so how do I, I know people was doing, I was like, so how do I get this show started? And then I received a call from an old friend.
Okay.
She said, Darlene, she said, since God, and she's a minister too, her and her
Okay.
husband, I'm not going to give her name. She's out of Florida. And she says, there is a TV network my friend owns. She said, I
Okay.
want you to call her. I said, and what I'm going to do? I said, I know nothing about this because now I'm in a place I knew nothing about, And she said, don't worry. She'll walk you through it. She said, but you need to start a platform so you can reach another set of people.
Oh, wow.
And so I made the phone call the same day. And she was like, oh, wow. She told me you was going to call me. And she said, when can you come to Atlanta? I said, I'll be down there next week. So at this point, I came up with this name. I was like, what am I going to call this show? And my son says, Mom, and this is Walter. He says, Mom. I said, what, Walt? He says, what is your name? I said, you got jokes? He said, Mama, that's the talk show is you. I was like, that's true. So I said, it's going to be table. We're going to be sitting at a table, even in the studio, right?
Right.
So that's where Table Talk. And then the more in it is because we're not just talking, I am a servant of God, but that is not all we talk about because the more means we can talk about anything. We can talk about sex. We can talk about medical issues. We can have politicians, and I've had them on my show.
Uh-huh.
I had a lawyer from Massachusetts, Tim Cagle, renowned. He's also an author. He's written about, I don't know, 4 or 5 books. Big time lawyer. But I mean, I've had people from R&B singers. You'll hear a couple of people, I got videos with all that stuff. And so that's why it says Table Talking More with Darlene. So that means you never know what we're going to be talking about.
Wow. Love it. So, And you took a break, and
Yeah.
now you're bringing it back. When will you be bringing it back, and how can people watch it?
We're gonna start with Facebook Live,
Okay.
and we're gonna also, once it's done, we're gonna put it on YouTube, which
Okay.
we already have stuff on YouTube. We're just gonna update it.
Okay.
And I am. I wanted to say one thing, Stacey.
Okay.
You say you left it and you came back. I didn't leave it.
Okay.
I had to stop it
Okay.
in 2020. I
Okay.
got an award in 2018. So my show is a reward. We got an award for being the fastest growing show on PTWWN TV network
Okay.
in Atlanta, in Alpharetta, Georgia, is
Okay.
where they were located at that time, where we did all the shoots, And I found out I had cancer in 2020, and I was writing a book in 2020.
Uh-huh.
So when I found out I had cancer, because I thought I just had tumors, um, that most ladies get. Well, I did have those, but that was not the cancer. They were going to remove. But while they were doing the test to make sure that was all that was there, they discovered that I had first stage cancer. And I will say this: it wasn't breast cancer. Um, and so my doctor said, "We have some news." He said, "The first thing is, darling, you have cancer, and it's not in the tumors." And that's why for a long time I had, like, my upper stomach was kind of large. It looked like I had flat stomach on the bottom, and I had this, and I used to look so strange. I did not like the way I looked. And when they took those tumors out, they let me do my book signing in Atlanta, and that was on Saturday. And then the next Friday they did the surgery. They removed the cancer. Right after that, they removed the tumors. Stomach went away because I was starving. I was just trying to lose that weight.
Wow.
And it wasn't weight, it was tumors. They weighed 6.5 pounds. And so I started my chemo and radiation journey at the same time. And no, I did not want people to know. Um, um, my immediate family knew, right? But I didn't. And the reason why you didn't want nobody to know, so we could pray for you, because everybody wasn't going to pray for me.
Don't get me started on that. That's another show.
And I didn't want people. Yeah, it is another show.
You call the people.
But I just wanted to say why, because some people are saying, like, why did you even stop? I had to stop because my health was involved. And I didn't want people saying, did you hear Darlene has cancer? Did you hear people will bury you as soon as the word cancer, which is cancer, is mentioned. No, you're not going to bury me, right?
There it goes again, Darlene. Speak, sister. Somebody.
People are not going to bury me.
Somebody's watching this show.
People read the word. They read it, and there's power in your tongue and all that. But the only power I need is this tongue.
I need someone.
And it's okay that you agree with me. But if you don't agree with me, I don't need you knowing nothing really specific about me.
I'm glad that you're okay.
I am.
If someone's watching that's tech savvy, inbox me if you can make me a recording that says speak and I can play it during the show. I need help. But Darlene, I love how you reminded people. I love how you said everybody didn't need to know.
Right.
Because I've said before, everyone's not praying for you.
There you go.
Sometimes for me, when people are quick to say that they'll be praying for me, I want to know, what is it that you're going to pray?
Exactly.
So I'm glad you said what you said. I'm happy that you are doing well.
I am.
So in order to keep up with when the show will air, they should follow you on Facebook.
Yes, because I'm going to be doing, we're trying to get it done before this, but the months and the days are just flying. So we were trying to do it this month, and I'm not gonna say who I asked to be on the show.
Okay.
But when the flyer and all that comes out, then I'm gonna give that information. But we're definitely gonna be back up and running. Well, there are some things we need to do. You think you need to get some things? I don't have enough people. I need all of this because I want actually, Stacey, I would like for the people to tell me what they would like to hear.
And I believe when we say we don't have everything, like I joke. Well, no, I'm not joking. I need somebody to teach me how to do the speak. They have a speak button. But I do believe God gave you this to do.
Yes.
And when God gives us something to do, sometimes I say, well, I don't have this, and I got to stop myself.
Yes. I see
I
where you're
have what I need.
You do.
God gave it to me. I have what I need to get started. Anything else that's needed, do your part, Stacey, and trust God that He's going to take care of the rest.
That part right there.
Even when I got to say, God, when you going to move? Let's see, before we go, truth talks. I totally understand your reasoning. That's for you. I love that you trusted you and set boundaries that were best for your healing. Ooh,
I love it. Thank you.
I love it. And I guess that's something people need to realize. But some people want to tell everybody because they want pity.
I don't like pity.
Yeah, that's why
because
some people do it. But I think it's like you said, and I'll have to remember that for myself too. When we're going through something, everybody doesn't need to know. We just need to tell those that I consider, because I'm proud of myself. My cousin's a minister, and she laughs when I say this. Stacey that writes the book, Stacey that keeps everything real. Guess what? I got me a prayer team. Darlene.
Stacey.
And that's something I think, let's see, probably when my mother got sick with ALS disease, and then we almost lost my sister. Stuff was just hitting us back to back. And I realized there were select people that I would call, even if they weren't people that I talked to once a week or once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And after calling, it hit me. Stacey got a prayer team, because you know who it is you're supposed to tell things to.
That's right.
Darlene, it's been great.
Stacey, I am having so much fun right now.
It's been great.
I was wondering, I said, now I wonder what Stacey's going to ask me, right? And I've been thrown what people think out the window. I really don't care nothing about that. I wouldn't do the stuff I do, right? But then I realized that a lot of things that God has allowed me to go through, it wasn't for me. It was for other people. And now I can help them that are coming through those same things in a different way, in a different state. They may only have 2 kids. The struggle is, you see what I'm saying? And there's more to that story, but some of that understanding is in my book as well, about why. Because, people saying, well, why they didn't help her? Because in that place of my life, families have to heal. And a lot of times there is stuff going on in families, and that don't just, you find your way and families learn to forgive each other. I try to teach that to my children, even now, even though they're grown. I don't have a child in their 20s. My kids are grown, and they remember stuff that was done, that was said about their mother, things that people whispered and they heard about it, about their mother. And we were, I worked. I mean, it was never a time I didn't work. You know what I mean? But it would have been nice to have a little help. I get it. But I get it. God said I was your helper. Now, what if somebody would have came to my rescue? You got to see what's happening now. What if someone would have came to my rescue and I didn't get the lesson that God was trying to teach me?
Right.
I wouldn't have two companies.
Right. Right.
I wouldn't have the compassion and the love, I believe, because my thing is now one company, I know why I did that, because I knew that company would pay well if we could get the contracts, right? But believe me, we're still fighting that battle on that issue. I just don't talk about stuff, right?
Well, and that'll be another story. That'll be
It will.
The things that we go through. It'll be another story. And like you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, sometimes the blessing isn't necessarily for you, but the platform you create could be a blessing. You're merely, like I say about myself sometimes, you're merely acting as the bridge to connect someone to the blessing.
Stacey Thomas, that is so correct.
I am wishing you the very best. I look forward to seeing your upcoming shows, Darlene.
They're coming.
Maybe you'll get the button that you can hit that say speak. Okay, I'm still on this speak system.
I'm gonna borrow yours. Can I borrow yours, Stacey?
So
she didn't hear me.
All your information is on here. And Darlene.
Yes, ma'am.
The last thing that I forgot to ask you.
And what?
Because when you said it to me, I said, oh, wow, look at her blessing others. Did you tell me that you hire people who have been to prison?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Right now, I employ them. Yes.
So,
yes.
And I know we're going to wrap this up, but Darlene, why, Darlene, take a chance? As some people would say, people are hesitant when they find out someone has had a past. And here you are going from holes in your shoes, I'm back at that, to building your company. Mm-hmm. And yet you take a chance on someone that's not perfect, that has a history. What made you say, I'm going to help felonies?
Because you just answered the question. Because I'm not perfect. And neither is anybody. I don't care if they have a master's. I don't care if they've been judging. I don't care if they're a lawyer. I promise you, they're not perfect neither. So why are we so quick not to hire him because of whatever it was? Now, murder, right? We don't, it is, unless it was self-defense. And we talk to the POs and we still pull backgrounds, right?
Okay.
And stuff like that. But Stacey, how are they to recover? What I don't want to be in society, I don't want to be the problem of why our young boys and girls cannot get back on their feet when they are released.
There's that tone.
I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Now, the only problem I do have is some of the guys that come to me. I mostly get men that come to our company, and that's the Litter Pickup. That is the company that they actually work on. They can work with the soft digs, but Stacey, someone told me about 2 weeks ago, said, Darlene, are you getting funding? And I was like, no. Even though I'm doing what I'm doing doesn't mean I know everything. Now, Stacey, I'm just use you as an example. If you're somebody, and even after this interview, and you heard what I'm doing, and you have some information that could help me, that makes you part of the solution. If you have information and you won't share it with me, then that makes you part of a problem. But you say you love God, but when they say they love God, just because they did some wrong They sold whatever they did. We ain't even talk about what they did, right? We're not going to have murderers that kill people. We're not going to have, and I don't have rapists, you know what I mean? But there are so many other crimes that are out there and they get out. How can they rehabilitate if they don't have income? Because as soon as you find out that they have a background, what do? Oh, we're not hiring him. Well, if the circumstances are not severe, RDL will take a chance on them.
Hey,
you understand?
Darlene.
So, yes, ma'am. That's that passion right there.
Darlene, if I didn't know any better, I'd take that passion for anger.
See what I'm saying? And I guess,
I hear it. I hear it. I'm looking forward to seeing all that you do. Thank you for blessing. Look, my first Saturday show.
Thank you.
What a blessing it was to start it with you. And I'm wishing you the very best once again. And thank you, Darlene.
Thank you, Stacey.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was great for a Saturday with I Am Stacey Thomas. Not all shows will be an hour long. You know, we have a tendency to go from 15 minutes to an hour, depending on the guest and depending on your story. With that said, follow Darlene Lyons on Facebook. I have her YouTube information on here also. If you have information that you'd like to share with Darlene and how to do even more with her businesses or be a guest on her talk show, hit her up on Facebook. Now, head over to YouTube, the Stacey Thomas Show. Do this for me if you enjoyed this show. Like it, follow the show, subscribe, and share it with someone. As always, don't stress too much about yesterday. Don't worry too much about tomorrow, because if you do, you just might miss living today. I am Stacey Thomas.
Want to be heard? Get featured on the Stacey Thomas Show. Join Stacey for conversations on entertainment, books, and entrepreneurship. Don't miss out. Elevate your brand today. Book your interview now. Email staceythomas@gmail.com.